All right, welcome to the program. My name is Dr. Mankota. You are watching the TPN TV and Radio Network. Today, we talk about a media offensive. The media offensive way the SLPP-led governments don't launch this week, and something we get for go for some time. This now kind of a calculated effort by the government for make them highlight the successes them way they don't do way. Those successes are buried by social media negativity and other stuff. So the question we want to discuss today, why now? Why the government decided to launch this media offensive? It's interesting, right? Because for the past 3 years, the government was so silent and they allow people for control the narratives, and most of them people then they are amateur people, them representatives of the government. They don't understand what they do, and they not even get a kind of what we call a coherent message for the government, in defense of the government, or even for highlight some of the things. Then yes, we got few people then na social media where once in a while then they come in and try for highlight. But when you look at some of them messages, then they again. If we don't talk one message today, tomorrow that message they contradicts the previous message. So that's not incoherent representation of the government. I think, in my own opinion, this now kind of a desperation. Kind of desperation, the fact that time is going. Time is really going too fast, and therefore the government realize that if they know they come themselves, then come highlight some of the things that they don't do, it could be too late. So the question is it too little, too late? Right? Now, a couple days ago, the president of Sierra Leone, His Excellency Dr. Madabio, go na 2 main TV stations at Sierra Leone, talks about how what they don't do as a government, and in that statement, the president highlights certain things where they're very interesting in my own opinion, and I want to talk about those things in this program today. Then it also reveals certain things. Then we also interesting, all right. We want to talk about that again. Then after the president's interview, the ministers they now come in individually, the Minister of Finance, the Minister for Information, the Minister for Education, or etc. come in, can't support. That's why they are not say this na kind of a pre-calculated effort where the government don't put together for make them go on the offensive. And not that they did no more. The following day, then begin send back other surrogates them the media for go talk about the good things and way the president don't do. Now, the president talks about so many things, and what you don't do way he believes say things that way good for the country. And one thing we I gave the president some kind of kudos. Mr. Peter, yeah, don't worry. I come to that. So one of the things where I give kudos to the president is the fact that at least it seems to be genuine, considering the politics today. A very rare for make you see a sitting president come out and say, no, I not succeeded. That's not very rare circumstances. The way politics did today, everybody they try for defend and all those type of things. But when the president they ask him whether he don't succeed so far, the president said no. He said I not succeeded. And that's now the second president in the history of Sierra Leone will genuinely come out and say, I not succeeded. And I'm not thinking about thing for somebody for say the truth. Any Sierra Leonean, especially the one the way they na salon, the way they see, where they suffer, where this they affect directly, they don't say, even whether you know SLPP or APC, you may not say that publicly, but consciously or subconsciously, you know, say there are a lot of things then where the government not do it. So when the president come out and say I not succeeded, again, I congratulate him for that because it looked genuine. It looked truthful. The first person where actually genuinely come out and say, I have failed, that was the late JS Momo. JS Momo, he come the media, he tell the Sierra Leonean people then say, don't fail the country. And up to today, it has been a history. Where even if you don't like JS Momo, and some people then call him a drunkard, somebody who not even get any kind of leadership, you know. But at least one thing where people then look at JS Momo today and say, well, it's sincere, it's truthful. Now, because of that single statement where he come out and say, I have failed. You know, the way politics day today, we know they use truth for make we inform the people them. We they use deception, manipulation, contradiction for make we able to mislead the people them. So any president or any leader will acknowledge saying, I know accomplish the mission where I want to accomplish. I think we'll get for and that kudos. So that make I give the president a kudos because at least it deviates from the normal circumstances, you know, the norms of society, you know. And I know say a lot of the SLPP we been they watch that interview they look disappointed because the president at least come out and say, I have not succeeded yet. It doesn't mean the president's not going to succeed. Well, come on, guys. The president gets 2 more years to go, right? And nobody really expects, say, in 3 years' time, you get for succeed all the agendas there. So that in itself, the president, not for being come out and say, oh, I don't succeed. Now, I don't say the surrogate of the president be not they go on social media for the past, I don't know how many years now. They parade this false sense of narrative, say, you see the successes the way the government don't do the talk and do BO, this, that, all those type of things the way that they do. So that would be kudos for that. Okay. Now, aside from the president's interview, and I want to talk also about the surrogates, the Minister of Information, the Minister of Education, the Minister of Finance, etc. After the president don't come out, you know, one of the biggest problems we get in Africa in general about leadership is the fact that we know the follow the footsteps of the president. You know. Now, let's talk about one of the youngest minister in this government, when Dr. Senge, when the Minister of Education, I think basic education. This guy now one of the guys that we admire, not so because in a minister, but because at least we get this myth now with society. Oh, this is not small person, you know, get experience, you know, able to hold, you know, leadership or all those type of things. Then means then they been on the flow now with society for a very long time, right? Now, when the old folks want for greedy or no one for sheer power, or they afraid the young generation, now then can statement and then they say, so when they appoint Dr. Sengen as first as a director of science and technology, I realized, I say, okay, I think Madabio is trying to bring in, you know, the young folks them. And I want to give him kudos because at least He bring in a lot of young folks then this SLPP government. So that's now a good step in the right direction. Okay. Then Dr. Senga was transferred to the Ministry of Education, Basic Education. No matter what you think about the SLPP government in general, no matter what we think of Madabio in particular, as a patriotic Sierra Leonean, one of the ministers that we don't work very hard for try for transform we educational system, the rotten educational system is this guy, Dr. Senge. He's a young guy. He's very young, but he worked very hard, So that's now a hope for the future. And that also don't destroy this myth for say young person not able to handle a big position. It don't destroy that. Now the reason that one day when I've been recently say this particular guy, Dr. Senge, don't begin mix pan yuki business. I was so mad and I was so disappointed because, well, if a young man, where they just decide for groom for future somebody will get a potential future, now the politics of salon, they begin for mess up himself. That's discouraging, right? But I hope so, just like what I've been saying during the internet, I hope so not to the PhD pull him down syndrome where Salomon gets, if he in way no go through, he want to destroy everything, my way or no way. So we still will get that cloud around Dr. Senge, but as time goes on, we'll know the truth, okay? But the meanwhile, I want for Gian the kudos for the good job way they do. He not succeeded, just like what the president said. This guy not succeeded, okay? They cannot succeed. The free quality education has a lot of problems, and that is expected, right? It gets a lot of problems, and the government need for do more. It don't mean that somebody will like forgive somebody chance, especially leaders them chance. I come from a leadership family, So I know what's in a leadership. Very difficult. Even we small community organizations leadership, where would they make? My brother, they get too much headache because Sierra Leoneans are very difficult to rule. Sierra Leoneans are very difficult to lead. One of the problems we will get as Sierra Leoneans, when we put somebody as a leader, now inge for do everything, even for go was you pieces now you host. You want to make you awesome for you. That's not the difference between African leadership and the Western way of leadership. In the Western society, for example, in the United States of America, the government could be dysfunctional, but the country still they continue because there are institutions way stronger than the government. The government is just a guardian of those institutions. So if the government is dysfunctional, the country still continue. Case in point, the previous president of the United States of America, when Donald Trump, right? What happened? We know say there were so many problems. Well, the United States was still going on. People go on their own business, and the country is moving on. On the contrary, in Africa, in Sierra Leone, without the government, the society crumbles. Right? In America, in a Western society, without the people, the government crumbles. So you see the difference is, in Africa, in Sierra Leone, without the government, society crumbles. In America, without society, the government crumbles. Why is so? Because we get institutions them. We need for build institutions them. You know, and the problem that the government supposed to do everything for we. It's the wrong way, and I in don't deprive we for a very long time. Now, we don't use everything. We blame the government. You know, every single thing we blame the government. If the government not do something, the society not they do something. If the government fail for do something, we blame the government. Even for we own personal stuff. We want for make the government can give we money for let we eat. If you go to salon, you go ask people them, the first way they tell you, we not get money, we not get anything, so therefore we they ask Papa government for make it do something for we. You know, yeah, for the Kaba, you are right. You know, Tanzania now one example we probably will get for talk about, but let me come back to the media offensive of the SLPP. So after the president done an interview, in fact, the president bring something way probably need more scrutiny. The president talks say when he go to Japan, right? He say when he go to Japan, now one hotel, now one conference, they refuse for give accommodation at the hotel. Why? Because the previous government, this is what Mother Bio was saying. He said the previous government not been pay them bills them where them be left them. Is this true? Is this true? I don't know. I have no idea whether this is true or not. But let me scrutinize this more. Let me scrutinize this. I don't know how government to business they work. So I am not pretending for say I know. Because I never been in government. I never deal with government. But in an individual experience, when you go now a hotel, first of all, when you check in, you can forget a credit card, right? At least the way we do things. You get a credit card, then put the credit card in the system. They make sure say the credit card has something, then they give you the accommodation. When you left, you check out, then they cut the credit, then they cut the money from the card. Is that the way it works also with governments to private business? I have no idea. But it's very, very weird when a government go to a hotel, you know, pay the hotel. The hotel manager not give, call police for that person there, where go lodge there, call the police, and he just left. So that was something we need for scrutiny. I am not saying it's wrong, it's a lie. I am just saying it look weird. Okay? And if you get any other experience, please let me know. But that is what I think. So that's not very critical, that very weird stuff. Okay? Now, let's go to the ministers. Let's start with the Minister of Finance. All right. This now the guy we've been doing as the media throughout during the time of the APC government. They lambast the APC government, how the APC government failed for give the people the bread and butter. Okay, that is the person who been lambast the government. Now in turn don't come, they don't get the position, they don't give the power where you been criticized, say down and they not execute and farm. 3 years into in leadership, the people of Sierra Leone still hungry. They not get bread and butter. They don't get bread and butter. The basic need of the people, them. They're not able to forget them. But this guy get the money, he can't up Now now the media, they give flimsy excuses. Something where him they criticize. Now they give flimsy excuses. Oh, would they do this? Would they do that? Come on. You see, when you're outside of leadership, they talk all kind of rubbish. They talk because talk not cheap thing, you know. You don't get to pay for talk. Now when you get inside, now they go no say yes, leadership picking play. Now we go to the Minister of Information, because the Minister of Information says something where it caught me attention very, very seriously. And that is the bill where they don't introduce in parliament. And they try for send the link to some people them we want for watch the thing. You know. All right. The bill where they introduce na parliament, the cybercrime bill. They asked the minister about the cybercrime bill. The excuse where the minister make a very, very vague and dangerous. Why? Well, let me explain something to you now. And I think I've been not covered this during with previous conversation, right? I've been not cover this bill. Now, cybercrime is something that is very, very complicated. When they try for legislate cybercrime, you get to take into consideration so many things then, because it is borderless. Cybercrime is a borderless stuff. It is not like the traditional crimes where again are they in the United States of America. The only ability where I get for commit crime is in the United States of America. That is different. With cybercrime, somebody can in America now commit crime na salon. Okay? So it is borderless. And you, as a country like Sierra Leone, we're very, 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 very deficient in terms of technology. We have to take into consideration so many things. And at the same time, we are just a maturing democracy. So we have to be very careful, make we not stifle the freedoms where democracy come with. Okay? Now, when they ask him about the cybercrime, what he say? He say, well, it is not much more about the crime itself, it's about evidence. Yeah, that's what he say. I don't really understand what he mean. Oh, people then they talk about the crime, it's more about evidence. The cybercrime bill is about evidence. What does that mean? I have no idea. Okay, but now we'll take with a grain of salt for say, okay, it's all about evidence. Well, considering the legal system in Salon, we already know, say, when it comes to legal system, legal practice in Sierra Leone, evidence is nothing. Inconsiderable. We don't care about evidence. No. Let me give you an example. An opposition leader, we all know, Mohamed Kamarembe Mansari, he didn't jail in the language. Okay? In the language. Why? They accuse him of rape or something like that. Rape. Okay? They accuse him of rape. The evidence where the government don't present so far is very, very laughable. The government knows they don't get evidence, but they don't care about evidence. Then just one hold the man, because the man is a critic of the government, then keep him. So he's not able to talk. For the past 6 months, but now, that guy did. And the Minister of Information, the media, they talk about, oh, it's all about evidence. What is that? I don't understand what it is try to talk about. And the danger part also is, based on that legislation where they introduce, then get the ability for share the evidence when you talk about with a foreign entity. And you talk about privacy, right? Right? One of the main things about cybercrime is it has to do with privacy. But the government would say, then they would say they get the right for share the evidence we then collect with a foreign entity. So right there, this bill don't violate one of the fundamental rights of citizens of Sierra Leone. Okay? Now, another thing, are we trained? Do we get trained people we're able to collect this evidence? Do we train? As far as I know, we not get people that way trained. As far as I know, I don't say they will not they not do it, but I don't know people that way don't train for collect for computer forensic evidence. That's something we're very, 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 very critical in collection of evidence. All right? Because if you know experience for able for train for collect some of their evidence, they go to evidence where, first of all, you did tamper with that evidence. Let me give you an example as a cyber security expert. One of the things where they make evidence lost in computer forensic evidence is one. When you take something from a computer, you get for copy that thing there to a device for safekeeping. All right. If you don't get the experience, how you go able to, because anything where you copy from one place to another in a computer, it changes the date of that particular, if not folder, let's say folder or file. It changes the date. Okay? And if you don't know how to copy that file there for make it able to mimic the original file, you don't get any valid evidence. So do we have the trained personnel where they collect their evidence and or we just want to use this law for suppress the freedom of speech of individual Sierra Leoneans? You know, understand what the type of talk about, right? This is not the thing. So let me bring in, I don't know, Mr. Abdul, I don't see you at the screen here too. So when you can at the screen, let me know. All right. So let me continue for talk. Now, do we just want to introduce a law as a way for suppress people, their freedom of speech? Because one thing we I know, social media has made it very difficult for any government, whether this current government or future government, for make them able for hide stuff them. You know, everything is out, right? So government not able to hide too many secrets again. And is that a threat to a government? We want for be secretive? Of course, yes. And the introduction of this law will able to be a stick yard for the government for suppress the freedom of speech. Then yeah. And let me give you one very important way some of you waiting at the diaspora, especially when we watch we right now. Okay, we probably want to know. Hey, if that law they pass na salon, as it is right now, if that cyber law pass na salon, some of you not ever go na salon again. Una, seriously, no, I'm serious. Some of now where they criticize the government or even criticize other people them now social media. When the people that will get power, social criticize on social media, No, not going to salon again. If we go to salon, then they arrest now. Irrespective of whether you're in London or you're in America or you're in Britain, Germany or whatever, wherever, you will be culpable. So you see the danger? Because the person you criticize, it in a salon, even though you are outside of the country. So cyber crime law get to take into consideration the borderlessness of the information system. All right? That's not the problem we'll get. That's not the situation we'll get. So I am urging, once again, I don't talk this many times now. I am urging this government, the Minister of Information, Rado Yoki, a man who is a very good person, the way I see him, for make he slow down the passage of that bill, for make them able for bring in more expert them, for make them see the implication where get for cause potential problems for people them, for citizens them tomorrow, where the intent is for make them just express their frustration against the young government who they put into power. Okay, so when I call cybercrime experts for make una understand, for make them analyze the bill, so that una go able to make them better. I am not against the introduction of a bill, a cybercrime bill. It is necessary. It is very important, because the way the world on it today, so every country get the right for protect its citizens from cyber criminal. So you're not going to be able to do it without putting cybercrime bill. But those bills supposed to reflect and also consider other aspects of the society: freedom of expression, freedom of association, freedom, all those freedoms, all those rights. Okay, that's not my own concern where I get about this particular bill where they go through the Parliament of Sierra Leone. Okay, so we get much for do, but you as a Sierra Leonean also, for just sit down, always they criticize the government. This na a disease for we, na salon. We are so much easy for criticize the government instead of helping the government for become a better government. That's now one of the biggest problems the world gets. We criticize too much. We know they jump into successes. We they jump into negativity, failures. Always, now this government don't fail. All right, this government no better. This hard lucky government or this organization, this, that. Let's start to rethink some of we behavior where we put against with society. Whether you talk about government or you talk about whatever. But let's start for the think some of them things in there, okay? It's very, very important. Now, this is my take. I just wait for I see some Mr. Abdul Ide off camera. I don't know if Ide hearing me say what they talk. I hope so they hearing me what they talk, right, guys? Now, let me go to while I wait for the commentators them. Let me go to the comments. Let's discuss the comments where I don't get so far from. Let's start with Peter Dauda. Peter Dauda say, how can anything be too late in Sierra Leone when, as the president rightly said, Rome was not built in overnight, and that is work in progress? Yeah, I agree with you. That too little, too late. Let me just put on so you see exactly. Not just a question. All right, not just a question. I ask: is it too little, too little? The reason what to make Peter Dauda, the reason what to make I say, is it too little, too late? Because this government don't sit down for the 3 years people then they, try for shape the way governments know they. The government no do a good effort, and now the damage has been caused. So now the reason now and the way I say, is it too little, too late? In today's social media world, a government where they pay attention to social media is bound to fail. Not by its own weight, but by its neglect. Because all the citizens now deal on social media. And information is something very, very, very important. If somebody say Dr. Mankota is a cow, if Dr. Mankota not come and decide say Dr. Mankota is not a cow, somebody will know Dr. Mankota. We know when they meet Dr. Mankota, we know when they talk to Dr. Mankota, they will believe say maybe some a cow where they name Dr. Mankota. So that stigma they left for some time until somebody come out and say, no, Dr. Mankota is a human being. You understand what I'm trying to talk about? So the SLPP government was so slow in defining themselves. So they allow we for define them. And now they're not realizing, I think it is time for let we come and try for redefine we image. That is in this way the government the media this week try for talk about what it don't do so far. That is the issue. That is why I say, is it little too little too late? Now we go to the next comment. Fede Kaba says, my brother, the problem of Africa is leadership. Take Tanzania late president. Fede, I totally agree with you, my brother. Totally agree with you. The problem of Africa is not lack of resources, lack of manpower, because Africa is the second largest in terms of population continent in the world. In terms of geography, is the largest continent in the world. And when it comes to resources, whether you talk about natural resources or human resources, now we're not the largest in the world. So we get everything. So it is not, the problem of Africa is not lack of resources. It is lack of leadership. So I totally agree with you. Now let's take an example. The late president of Tanzania, where you just mentioned. That guy, when he come into power, the first thing what he do, he go in government, try for streamline in government. Most of the ghost workers them, where the previous government been they tolerate, been they pay, been they spend a lot of money on. It's right for strip all them things they first. The second thing, all right, Mr. Kabu, welcome. You late today. I'm sure what's happening.
I'm sorry about that.
I know.
Actually,
Yeah. So I've been just a try for talk about the comment the way the what they call it they say. So the guy when he come, the Tanzania president when he come, he stripped some of them things again. The second thing where he do, he look at the donor agencies and try to find out what are the intent of those donor agencies. Is it for help the country or for hold the country into colonial quagmire? Because some of the loans them where would they receive from the donor agencies them, not for help we, not for capture we more, so then we're able to control we. Now the guy that one day, imagine now the guy that one day we not take any loan, but it transform the Tanzanian economy into a middle a middle income economy without any loan from foreign donors. So now understand, and it do it in 5 years. Imagine, Tanzania. In fact, at the guy that one day we refuse to take $10 billion loan from China, and at the guy that one day we been a try for fight very hard for make some of the international companies, the foreign companies, then we come for we been the exploit their resources for make them pay a fair share. I don't know whether not true or not, but rumor they go around saying the guy actually, so far any heart attack, now kill them, kill him. I know. This is what I am hearing. I am not sure. I don't know. I don't have any evidence. But this is and waiting the story behind that way. Some of the people that way they claim so, especially people from Tanzania, is because the foreign donors them then can see say this guy can actually expose the ability where African leaders, if they really want for put themselves away from colonial manipulation, the ability where they get for able to continue for help the young people without continue for tiger them countries and they into debt. And say now the president, I don't know if it's true, but looking at history, I'm not going to say a lie too, because when we look at the history of we leaders, the way they stand up to colonial imperialism, they always end up either assassinated or killed. You talk about Thomas Sankara, you talk about Kwame Nkrumah, you talk about other good leaders in Africa who been ones for let Africa become independent. They always end up whether assassination or kill or overthrow. So if another Pan-Africanist come in and one for can continue with that perception there, and all of a sudden the guy died, you understand why people then get that suspicion. They say probably not kill them, kill him. Okay. Now, Mr. Tabo, I know say later we not talk a lot about the offensive way when our government don't launch, and they're going to social media now for try for redefine themselves. Okay, Mr. Right. Well, let me leave you first, Mr. Tabo. Let me talk to Mr. Abdul, because Abdul been on the from the beginning. But Abdul, tell us you freeze. Mr. Abdul, you freeze. Mr. Abdul, you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
They get me.
Yeah, they get you. The only thing, I know you video freeze, but the audio is also. Yeah, they hear you.
Yeah, they hear you.
So yeah, they hear you clearly. So the question where I want for me ask you, why the SLPP decide for launch this media offensive now? Is it too little, too late? Mr. Abdul. Mr. Abdul.
Well, Bankwata, well, if you go around social media, even on TPN, hello, you hear me?
Yeah, they hear you. I hear you. Now the video no more. I know they see, but they hear you.
You hear me, Bankwata?
Yeah, they hear you, Mr. Abdul. Yeah, they hear you.
Mr. Bankwata.
Okay, Mr. Abdul, Alex, you get problem with your
system. Well, even if you go through the social media to answer your question, remember
Yeah, yeah, you did break, Mr. Ablu.
I don't know why, perhaps, and you know, they
We dey hear you, but you dey break. Sound like say you dey break. We dey hear you, but you dey break.
hello?
Yeah, we dey hear you.
Okay, you hear me?
Ah, hold on, let me bring you na the other.
Right.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hear me?
they hear you. Yeah, they hear you now. You good?
Okay. If we go back and check the social media stuff, them don't forget. Let me say now a sort of they put on at the forum them even the CPN where the SLP people them they hype and say first in the history of Sierra Leone to have a town hall, presidential town hall style meeting like America, yeah. And you'll go back, you know what happened. That was not the case which happened. I think they changed that to the president only going to AYV and SLBS. And if really waiting, they may put now the TPN, other food from them. They have a town hall style like meeting. I believe say they may don't see the writing on the wall. Now that make them change them. The president only go pandemic media because they know say not only the opposition and other members will get people another holiday where go try for ask question, assuming it was a plan like a town hall style meeting like what happened in America, where you and I have the ability to ask questions through the moderator, where go happen. I believe say then the other reason why they change that because they know say no go look good. But waiting me pick from that interview, at least especially the one there where they criticize Chernobyl, the president indirectly or directly admitted to some of the allegations the way Chernobyl they say about money being spent recklessly by this government. If you go back and listen, the president tried for defend even in the office of his wife. Where he say, well, the first lady in program, now a very important program, this money allocated for their office there, if they spend the money for that purpose, and they try for paraphrase them, waiting at the problem. So that means Chernobyl, it don't hit the nail on the coffin all along until everybody was finding an excuse. But here now the president of Sierra Leone don't come. So, well, by the way, yeah, because money they where they allocate for this office. And so if me wife spend them, when I for the purpose we spend them, what's not the qualm, what's not the issue now? Yeah. Yes, it is the Sierra Leoneans money, but they spend them for a purpose. Well, we not get record yet since Sam Milton, my guy. Up to now, this is the first in the history of Sierra Leone. There is an office of the first lady being allocated a budget from Sierra Leonean taxpayers. Well, I just say from loans or money getting from overseas, you know. This is not the first. And why this is happening, we don't know. But this guy don't go the length and especially those who are very fair. We don't live in a Western world. We know how America, for example, they practice journalism. Where this man, it show the evidence, it puts the date. Now, let me go back to what you referenced earlier on about the president say he go to Japan and they're not allowed for go to a hotel. Right after that interview, this guy again put another statement out, another article wherein he tried for debunk that statement where the president put. But Amigo wants for let it go further. Who was the ambassador in Japan or we cover that territory there? If not just I call him a transfer we get it for somebody during the APC administration because the record will be there. And two, this person will able for substantiate what the president say, whether it is true or not, that he had gone to Japan on a conference call. Let's put Chernobyl in your own paper where he write the article. He had gone to Japan, wanted to check in an hotel, and was denied check-in because, quote, the former government gave bills based on what the President Bio said, His Excellency, he had to pay all those bills where APC owe before he check in at the hotel. I beg the question. I have been to Tokyo, Japan. I spent 9 days in Japan. I don't know the city who side them go. Is President Bio saying that the only hotel that one day in Japan at that time, it was only, I mean, nine have been the only hotel, because if APC gets a debt where they're not paying at this hotel, why not just leave that hotel, go find another hotel? Say, yeah, we have money, we'll pay in for this hotel. Why insisting staying on an hotel wherein your predecessor has a debt surmounting to thousands of dollars where you not pay? Now you have been asked to pay that before you are allowed to check in. I mean, let's look at it in that scenario that, I mean, you really need for dissect them and for CMs, you know, maybe something is wrong now here. But I believe why they are going on this media bliss, because there is really nothing to show for the last 3 years, honestly speaking. And the pudding, American man can say, this guy's article, this Africanist press guy, the paper the way they pull. So some of us we get close people the way they into this government, then they tell you privately, not publicly, that they know things are not working right. The president himself, as is telling people privately, say, but I don't know what they happen at all. Now inside this room, I don't know more than at the State House, the Oval Office. Now what they can't tell me, I don't know. And I'm happy on the TPN, one of the members of the TPN at that forum, he put on a video where the same President Bio was criticizing APC government about the cost of a bag of rice, hoping that it is not on his manifesto. But when I run for mayor or governor of Arizona, I said, no, petrol is now $2.50 a gallon. And if you let me, President, I will make sure I bring that price down to $2. Yet when I come to office, it is now $3.25. You have an explanation to give to people. So that is why, with all due respect, I join you in extending an olive branch to the president, that a fine way he come out say, yes, I not succeeded. And like where you give my example, where he say, yes, I have failed the nation. Because the people of Sierra Leone were expecting a lot from him, being a man from the uniform. Deja vu all over again. Here is another man where being wearing the uniform. So for making say, well, I not succeeded from which I decided to do. I mean, I believe say now the right direction. All he has to do now is to make the surrogates them, then stop for calm, try for put some flavor in it, and Jamaican spicy or whatever, season them. Because people are well informed now, they can read and write. They may not be well educated from Ivy League institutions, but at least they can write and read basic English and see where wrong is wrong, right is right. Because if a bag of rice is over 300,000 now, really this government has an explanation to give.
All right, thank you. I know say Mr. Kabo really want for coming. Mr. Kabo, I know say you drive safe, please. But you got anything before I go to Bashiru? Mr. Kabo, hold on, Mr. Kabo. You been make noise. I be mute you, but okay, go ahead.
Now go ahead first to the next person because I'm trying to get my connection better. I'm on the road.
Okay. Bashiru, welcome to the program. You I put you comments na the broadcast. You say it's a media offensive, the right description of the press conference and town hall. So explain to us. This is some kind of a media offensive. Go ahead.
So I think as an opposition to make you water that way, media offense. It's not an offense, it's an engagement. Okay. So we always say president didn't ask a question, and the man can ask a question that he said it's an offense, as if he's trying to attack somebody. For the past 3 years, he's the one that's been attacked with all these different stories. The man can answer questions. Now he says it's a media offense. That's what I take off of that. But let me just go real quick. So the previous speaker said something where it's just absurd to me. And this is why I always go back when I look at Salon politics. I always have a problem with APC opposition. Okay? Then somehow get amnesia. Somehow forget things. It's like America. Every election will get now. This will don't come now, Michael. I mean, you come the same time. We've done that 21 years now.
Yeah.
Every election since then, every president when they come to America, they promise to put gas price down. Okay, gas price in America is decided by the markets, not the president. Salon price of rice is the rates, the dollar rate affects it more than anything government will do with it. Okay, so APC when against power, do the same promise. You can go back, same promise for Bagress down. And that's after in 11 years power, I bet you Bagress go up close to 100% in price from the time we take and with the left power. Okay, so if we make a president promise the cost for bag of rice, and now all of a sudden, oh, he has to explain about this. Like this is some scandal when the bag of rice is directly related to the exchange rate of the dollar. Just like right now, if the rate drop, likely the price of bag is going to drop. That is not totally controlled by government. Maybe that this will need for stop. That's the promise and no government they make. Like also government, they also go promise petrol price. If the market price goes up in the petrol thing, that's not those government do for affect that price they go up. So we have to, as we are engaging people, we have to teach people and accept government rhetorics about what is the promise and this and that. So what it really is the responsibility under government's control. Okay, these are the same thing like every politician so we can make the promise they are. They don't have direct control over it. They can affect policies that improve the production of local rice that will affect the market down the road. But so now he has, somehow there's something he has to come explain because bag of rice don't go up. And the Skroma, from the time we take power to we left, go back, look at look at the cost of the dollar, we take over, look at the dollar rate, and what's going to power, what's the dollar rate. So let's have a honest conversation. There's a lot of things from these two interviews that needed to be discussed. There are a lot of things that this government clarify more. Okay, I'll give it to you. The first lady of it, anywhere in the world, when they have programs, their programs most time is being funded by charity, not directly by government money, not directly by taxpayers' money. Okay, so that to me, I feel like there's still a lot there to be cleared. Okay, because money is spending for go through the parliament budget. Okay, government parliament budget. The woman is spending to go through parliament budget. To me, the scandal lies with the Ministry of Finance, that the Ministry of Finance is approving money to this program where it not go through any type of public procurement or any system, but then somehow they provide money as if this is not some parliament. So there's, like I said, there are things, legitimate things, but where APC go grab now with the whole things don't know whole water, right? Price of rice. Okay, that is those promises doesn't matter. Every president will make that price of rice, that promise day, and none of them have been able to keep it. The price of rice continue to go up. The man will get nothing for answer for price of rice. I think he has things to answer, but that's definitely not one of them.
All right. Okay. Mr.
No, Makota, let me respond to my brother James quickly. My brother, I am not. My point. I know you are trying to address what I said. If President Bio don't rule Salon for 3 months, even though that is not an experience, a good resume, you been in America 20-something years. I mean, but this was the resume the SLPP was selling. So therefore, he already knew the inner workings of government. So for him to come back and ask for the same job where he had 20 years ago, he said, oh, una no sabi non dede, so una give me XYZ opportunity in, and I will do this. Your point is valid, but that is for a rookie, somebody who no one day run for office. But him And as the SLPP be say, the man already don't get the experience. He don't rule saloon for 3 months. So he know the inner workings of government. Why come back and make promises? And if I quickly I go left you now, Mark Otale go to that person. Even if when APC and other parties or government in the past made those promises from Sheikh Stevens, they were helping the people through subsidy. Then they subsidize that. America, where you bring into example, they are not paying you the same salary right now as you were being paid 2-3 years ago. But Sierra Leone is standstill. If you have a teacher who has been teaching for 5-10 years, he's still making 2 million leos every month, and he's buying a bag of rice at 100,000. And now you come elect me into office because when I be not give me position today, I know how to do this, and all of a sudden it go off the roof. Don't sit there and say, oh, this man cannot answer for that. He promised the people of Sierra Leone that I have been president of Sierra Leone before, and I know how to do this. I am better than these other guys. So he has an answer to that.
So really 1 minute response, okay?
No. Now they give Bashir, now they give you response. I just want to add on to that. Ask you a question. Why did you respond? Bashir, don't you think if a politician promise something and he not fulfill that, we get the right for all that accountable for that?
Thank you so much.
Let me you do. But we also live in a reality world where when people are running for office, they make a lot of promises. The speaker just said, price salary has been stagnant. This government, though, in these past 3 years, in almost every sector of Salon, they've taken every sector. There's no sector, public worker sector, where not see pay increase yet under this government. Some of them have seen close to 50% pay increase. So there's no other sector you point past, public sector. So those are the type of things for me. When you say what that government go do, what that government in response towards the price of things, those are government's response. Keeping up salary with inflation, those are the government response. But watching the things on markets they control. As I said, we need one stop making politicians the full way all the time. Where gas price go down. Extra people want to claim responsibility for hey, look, we don't put price on. Then when the markets go up, then they want when the price go up, then look what they don't pay. We need to stop this. They don't control a lot of this thing. They don't control it. What they can control is salary to keep up with inflation. That's what we need to hold them accountable for. This is what I'm saying. We're pointing on the things them where they have, like I said, this is not every politician do this. They make these wild promises. Babu, remember we hold people accountable. Like I said, this first lady, this issue gets a lot for answer there for me, right? Let's hold them their foot to the fire on those type of things. Corruption in this government, there's a lot that needs to be answered. The way they spend money recklessly because they run on those type of things that they would do better. Hold them accountable. But the price of rice, give me a break. Let's hold them accountable to real things that they are failing on.
Okay. All right, Mr. Gabo, are you okay now?
The only thing I'm not following that clearly, but I am now on the alert. I just want to know what is the promise, the big promise that Mr. Abdul and Mr. The previous speaker are talking about. What is the promise that was not fulfilled?
Well, the issue here is Madabio promise, not fulfill it. So, Bashir will say there are certain things where they hold the government accountable. There are certain things where we know say the government not get control over. For example, price, like product price, petrol and other stuff. This now is determined by the people where they buy and sell. And for the president in wealth in budget where they use from in projects, that's not something where we supposed for all the government accountable because it's not supposed to happen. So this is the discrepancies where they get.
Well, talking about promises and not being fulfilled is not correct because we know how the country has. In our country, when you become a president, as far as I am concerned, and I know Sierra Leone, in all aspects of life, maybe 65% of the aspects of life don't have a base. They don't have a starting point. They were all done in half-facade manners. They were not put in place in a structure where anyone who comes, you go on top of that structure. It is always imperative that when you come, most times you have to start from the scratch. And when you are leaving, everything gone, and when another person comes, has to start, and that is not development. And if Madabio comes in play, now for instance, let's take the food itself. I know the most hardworking person in the government of Madabio is, I will tell you, is the Minister of Finance, and he came with the simple rhetoric of bread and butter. I know that's why
You don't out. You don't go out. Mr. Gabo, you go in and out. I think where you lose your connection.
My
Yeah, go ahead, Bashir.
So when I look at this SLPP government, the biggest promise or the biggest tool they try to distinguish themselves during the election, right? If we really pay attention, they promise that they can block leakages. Remember that?
Yeah.
That to me is a bigger thing to hold them accountable on top of corruption. Okay? If any government gets corruption, they'll be the best. Okay, so they don't get all the corruption. What we can look forward to that certain flagship programs. Closing loopholes was a flagship program. Let's hold them accountable on that. Because the corruption, the spending money recklessly, still going on. Hold them on that stuff. But when people say the type of fuel they run from it, somehow it's not going to be able to get it. I make way that corruption, then rise all be thief from education with Timboden. I thought SRPP, APC should have owned on that. When a young government, the money in government, they found something wrong with it, right? But at the same time, they reinstate the man as a minister. They reinstate the man as a minister. Okay, so to me, those are things I thought SLPP APC should have held them accountable on that. That somebody when you ACC find one thing, and then after you go like as minister, you know. And those are things that like building nobody accountable last time. Just go and talk for every other things which doesn't matter.
Mr. Gabo, you come back. So yeah, continue what you been talking. You go on.
Yeah, we're talking about the inflation and regarding to the prices. I was talking on basis of the petrol or gas and some other basic commodities like food. I was talking on the fact that JJ Safar is one of the best financial minister or minister of finance we ever get in Sierra Leone. And I do admire him with the word bread and butter. But it falls into two categories. People who probably may understand what economics is. In other words, he put it in a way by saying that that's just a simple way to say economics made simple when you say bread and butter. But to the layman and to the disappointment of the APC more so on the elite, when they say bread and butter, they go to their consumers who are their voters or their followers who are more of just followers. They tell them, oh, he told us he's going to make food cheap, he's going to bring food for us, he's going to provide bread. That is not what bread and butter is about. It is something far more than that. How does that happen? Now, you got to remember, first of all, Sierra Leone don't produce rice for themselves. We can't produce rice that can feed Sierra Leone. And the question is, how would you expect to get a cheap rice? That is one major question people should understand and be able to tell. And we don't control price. We don't manufacture. We don't produce oil or gas, which they call petrol. How do you expect that thing to be cheap? Now, if you come to gas, you find out that you go into all Europe and America, you find out that Sierra Leone is far cheaper in gas than any other country. Right.
Mr. Gabo.
That's not true.
Yeah, go ahead.
Usa, you
Yeah,
get
I'm
Usa.
driving on the conduit.
That's not true, Mr. Kago. Gas is more expensive in Sierra Leone than America.
Mr.
I don't
Kabo,
hear what you are saying. You're breaking.
hold on, Mr. Kabo.
I had a tough time. I had a tough time hearing you. I'm driving on the conduit. It's probably
Okay,
there are interceptions by JFK. Actually, I'm close to JFK, to the
okay.
airport.
You can hear me now? You can hear me?
I'm close
Okay,
now. It's goes in and
okay. All right. We go definitely first. Now we go to Mr. Abdul. Mr. Abdul, go ahead.
it happens a lot when,
Well, I
especially when
think,
it's
sir, with all
international.
due respect, Mr. Kagbo, they get the facts wrong. A gallon of petrol in Sierra Leone is more expensive than here in America. And I mean, Mr. Kagbo, he entitled to your opinion about saying he admire JJ Safa as the best finance minister in the history of Sierra Leone. But let's wait after the election. Where if Madabio win and then put JJ Safa, then bring John Benjamin, Mr. Kagbo will come back now this radio. He say, Mr. Abdul, your sources within the SLPP, they are current. If JJ Safa is doing a good job, the only reason he's still keeping that job right now because they don't want to create a tsunami within the SLPP. Okay? But I mean, again, Mr. Kagbo is entitled to his opinion, but if down the road later on, some SLPP will tell you, I call him, Benjamin, I mean, it's a better finance minister or was during the time of Pakaba than JJ Safa. Coming back to Bashiru in point, a very valid way he talking about the first lady, but what my brother forget for do that way he say APC, now that if he say APC for Bindu. How can APC do that when Mr. Bashiru they follow news na salon? A lot of things that way APC don't raise alarm for. This government they pay little or no attention to it. Things that they bring na parliament. My former MP Abbas Bundu now speaker, it is president in it. So I really don't know what if he say APC they do. I mean, they have kicked out members of parliament from parliament. They have taken those cases to court. The Supreme Court up to this day, up to today, you and I are talking here, Mr. Bashiru, they're not called them hearing. Then you know it will not happen in Arizona like that or in the United States. So what can the APC do when you say, oh, the APC now then they put fire?
Let's be clear. The past months, the corruption charges have not come from APC. Okay, because
Yes.
Sharon has made it clear he's not APC, right?
Yes.
So it's a media thing that's coming from. What I am saying here is that APC as an opposition it's not organized enough to have a unified message, right? I give you examples then, where the old Timbo thing, that Chinese rice would have been teeth. And I remember that thing, right?
Yes.
Here's a minister here's a press release from the president in your office saying then your preliminary investigation found the man wanting. Because of that, they suspend him, right? The reason that case not go court, let's be clear again. The reason not go court, right, is because the government prosecutor failed to file a case in court. So he was not found not guilty. Think about it, right? The government, in your prosecutor there, wouldn't have never prosecute crime, decided not to file a case in the court. And because of that, that's why the judge dismissed they failed to file the evidence. They put the original case, right? The man go to court, therefore provide the evidence for making the case start. They failed to do that. After so many delays, that's why the judge dismissed the case. So he was never found not guilty, right? So the government itself, if I can use my name, they will kukujumuku the case for free demand. To me, APC as a party should have owned it. Like, dig into that, right? Say you promise, say you cover.
I'm not there again. Oh.
You don't. I think so. You don't want to call you audio.
No, I did. Make a look at. Sorry.
I can hear you, Bashiru.
I call you coming. So to me, I feel like APC should have owned on that particular issue, right? Because it's like exactly what the man promised. If like I said, there's two things: free education and fighting corruption.
Right.
Two main things in that. Be into that. This is specifically it's supposed to be the wrong kids.
That's true.
But what happened?
No, well, Mr. Bashiru, you're right. But the point is, your point where you no answer. APC is not in control of any committee in that parliament. And I know you are following news events. Okay. There are times when we see a journalist and candidate, they are doing video interview in the words of parliament of Cherno Maju, Cherikoko, and Abbas Bundu, pleading to Abbas Bundu, my former MP. Well, Abbas Bundu,
I am not saying
it's not moving.
I'm not saying that
I understand. No, I understand your premise that the APC for move, but you can only push for them here.
I'm talking about communication to the people, not what you do for SLPP change. It's your communication. How you the type of things that way you want to make people remember about the government. Like right now, this two I bring so, but Kuman and Salon forget about how. They don't forget say Timbo, the cake Timbo, and inside the cookie jar, but that rest business, right?
Yeah.
Because why? No. The opposition is not keep bringing it in people's day. So when 2023 they come, that is not even an issue anymore. And this is what I'm saying. No. The messaging has to be
Bashiru,
everything we need for jump on.
Yeah, Bashiru, you are right. It may not be an issue, but we are speculating because what happened, you said this clearly. What the Anti-Corruption Commission guy, he did on TV the other day where he clearly say, oh, they're not being getting enough evidence for charge the matter to court. That is why they're not charge the matter to court. But you and me know, the guy you talk and Pancreo, we know say Kukujumu don't play, but don't forget, Mr. Bashiru, when the Hajj case business been come, SLPP also not take to the media bliss, the press not do not know, then it just die. Where the mudslide come, it just slide. These are one of the reasons where APC lost the election. I just they try for highlight. The people of Sierra Leone are not fool anymore. These are not the days of Sheka Stephen, wherein I don't know how old are you, wherein we used to go to Slett, we get 14 up in a long line, you only have 4 booty under for can't call the relative and a salon. When you happen as salon, you know go get and right away, go take pass you go na Slett. It does happen. Those people are now very smart, well educated, the few. So they know what will happen. The time will come when all them tear back they come. They will remind SLPP if there will be a presidential debate. I guarantee you that issue will come up. Now the anti-corruption guy may have a reason why he freed Timbo. I agree with you on that side.
This is a
I agree with you.
Though. He did not. He also that same anti-corruption guy has audios of him claiming they found enough evidence. Remember, I made the suspender because they claim that they found enough evidence. Right?
Yes.
Remember this. They claim they found enough evidence. So what happened with enough evidence would have been get? What they not provided in a court? What? The court friend him are not guilty. And these are the type of things I said there's so many things that needs to be they can be held accountable.
Yes.
Sometimes the way you ala too much. I make sometimes even with this Cherno you make when you ala too much about money spending, you don't point by the corruption because overspending and corruption are two different things. When you ala too much, you not pinpoint by the corruption. You need a stick. So, to me, again, not Cherno, but APC as a party, right? And these are just I'm talking strict about the messaging. They need to own their message. Somebody tell Cherno to dig inside more, dig inside, and know without in hand, listen and go back. You know.
Let me begin, Mr. Gabo again. Mr. Gabo, you okay now? Oh, hold on. Mr. Gabo, hold on. Okay, you okay now?
Let's see. Yeah, what do you want me to talk? Unfortunately, I was not able to get all the information. Yeah. Now, go ahead with your question now.
So what you will be trying to talk about is the idea that the APC government is some kind of, according to Bashiru, the APC government is misprioritizing the young opposition. For example, an example for say like direct business with Timbo can be accused of. So the APC government not take advantage of that. Then so the case just died sadly. So now that one day, what are you take on that?
Well, he's quite right. You know, because if they would have taken advantage of that, maybe we would have known the outcome. But because they are based on APC is based on more so on causing noise, making loud noises, and going the wrong way, like creating scenes that are funny, singing like how our people in Africa say hints, singing hints against one another. They are more concerned on the cursing and the other things, and they think that is opposition, and that's not actually opposition. I mean, being an opposition does not mean that you are not under governance. That's a continuation of governance in the absence of being in position. And people will trust you very much, so especially APC when they were in governance, and if they continue that path in their own opposition as a governing body, then the people of Sierra Leone will regard them as a government that is reliable, even though when they are not in power, but yet still they provide governance. But in this case, they deviated from that. They thought the word opposition simply means when they say let's go count the people, they say no, don't go. Anything they say no, anything they say no, that's all they are. And they cause trouble. So they were out of bounds. And because of that, the people don't regard them anymore as something serious, because what they were doing has nothing to do with the development of the country. There's no development. There's nothing. So that's where it is.
All right, Mr. Kabo, let me ask you another question quickly.
Sure.
Why do you think the SLPP government are now going on a media offensive? Well, Bashir will say not a media offensive, but definitely, clearly, it's a media. Well, let's say a media engagement now. Why now?
Well, again, media offensive is too ridicule to say the least. That's not a media offensive, because there has been offensive going on already on the ground. They don't need to go on the media because they're making strides on the development. And the question of saying why now, okay, it's no media offensive. It's creating an awareness within the community or the people of Sierra Leone. Why now? It's not even now. It's just that probably it is more organized now than before, or maybe you see the president online, but this has been going on. So it's nothing like to say why now. All right, it's nothing new. What he said, we've seen that before. We've seen that. It's just to create a clarity to people who have a doubt on it. That is all. But this is an ongoing process. The development is ongoing. So it's not something like it's just doing now.
Mr. Labo,
go ahead. Correct.
Do you think all the promises already the SLPP don't make, for example, the Lunge Bridge, the Lunge Airport, all those promises get for can't hold them back if they're not able to do anything?
The promises of the Lunge Airport and the bridge. Now, first of all, take the bridge out. That's what we call kakama. In Sierra Leone, they know what I mean. That was a side issue, was not in his flagship campaign, and he mentioned it. And I'm telling you, it is going to happen. And he already launched it, I believe, and it's going to happen. Now, the same thing with the airport. The process is going on. But it is one thing. It's just 3 years. Even that they're supposed to do the renovation of the airport, it will be more than 2 years. The process will take a year or more. So it's not like when I tell you I'm going to bring free education and I'm going to build a Lunge Bridge. Lunge Bridge will take maybe like 5, 6, 7 years to construct it. Do you know that? So why do you want these things to be done now when it's an ongoing process? It's not like something going to be immediate. There's nothing, in fact, immediate in Sierra Leone. The reason being that even the food, the ordinary food that we want, we're not going to get it immediate because there was no plan on how to cultivate rice in Sierra Leone.
Mr. Gabo.
Now identifying the bodies, now they are trying to get people bringing machinery to do the work, and it takes time.
Mr. Gabo.
Yeah.
Mr. Kabo.
Yeah.
When did the SLPP promise say then they launch the first step of the bridge, the first work of the bridge?
I don't know what your question is about. I believe you asked me saying when they're going to start the first step.
No.
All right, listen, let me hear.
Mr. Kabo.
Hold on.
Right.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Let me. The question is, because I did see they try for jump from one place to another. Now that makes me ask you, say, who's the way the SLPP been promising?
Now, yeah, let me,
Start the work. Who's here that one the way them say them for start the work? Is it this year, last year, next year, or what?
you're breaking actually. I don't know if you can hear me, but I would say
Mr.
this. You
Kago,
are talking about the bridge, saying when, yeah, when was the promise made?
If I remember the issue.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yes.
I talk so. Yeah, that exactly because I did see the jump. They try for give an excuse from one place to another. Now that make I just ask simple question. When did the APC promise
What
they
is
will
the
start? When the APC promised they will start doing the job? When? What year?
APC.
What's the APC? SLPP, sorry.
All right. If correct me if I'm wrong, I think I heard of it. I'm not sure if I heard of it officially, but I heard it over the media. I don't know if it was official, and I heard people talking about uniform. I mean, Ashobi. I don't know if those Ashobis were official because we have people who peddle information both in the APC and the SLPP. And we have people, we have
Me-
government officials.
me-
Hold on.
me-
We have government officials who bring in information. I didn't get exactly the time, the date and time, and when it's going to be started. But I know Marabio made it clear that he's going to construct the bridge. But what I'm saying in regards to that bridge, it was not one of his flagship. That was just a side issue, and that it's going to be started. But I haven't got an official. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard it from the media. And these people we hear it from
Mr. Kago.
the WhatsApp
Okay,
and
Mr.
so on and
Kago,
so
Mr.
forth,
Kago.
both APC and
Mr.
so
Kago.
they are not right. Correct.
Okay, Mr. Kago,
Correct.
let's don't sugarcoat this. One part where you write, the bridge not been there on Madabio in manifesto. But as soon as he was elected president, a contract that was already signed by his predecessor, which you and I know, and this other commentator here and the listeners, that in government you have what is called continuity. The sooner Madabio was sworn in, he said, no, I am going to cancel the my airport. And what happened is he put a team of people to study about the construction of bridge. Companies from Western Europe were invited to bid for contracts to construct the bridge, Mr. Kagbo. Love no sugar coda. Where somebody bring in contractors. If somebody bring in contractors, let me finish. If somebody bring in contractors, he say, I want let una build this house for me. Waiting on una bidding. Don't forget, the selling what was sold to the Sierra Leonean people was penny, not they come out from the taxpayers' money of that $2 billion. It was all going to be built by those people who are going to win the contract, and they control the airport, put in a toll there after a while, and then they hand over it. I know you don't know this. My own elder brother's wife is from Tanzania. This guy will die, according to what the woman tell me. I don't know whether it is true, but I have no reason not to believe her. All what he do so in 5 years. He not there in manifesto. In fact, he was not going to be elected. You know why? It is the same political party. I know most Sierra Leoneans were within at the media, unless those who are well informed know that. Nyerere in party, Julius Nyerere, we take Tanzania to independent. Now in party they rule Tanzania today. No other political party has ruled Tanzania. Magufuli is the same political party of Nyerere. All the one the way don't come. But he said, "Will not try me." A lot of people are doubting him. They looked at what the other president have been on do, and they want an opposition party to come in. He said, no, I will be a different person. Look at what he has done, where they're not there in manifesto. Just look at it. So the question here, Mr. Kagbo, let us don't put flavor in it. By Madabio bringing in Sierra Leoneans and foreign companies, where we all see on AYV TV, Radisson Blue Hotel, putting proposals, and the SLPP surrogates were selling this, that, we're going to give, the government is not going to pay money. Why would you pay $2 billion versus $500 million where you
All right, so I think say you go up. So let me bring it.
All right, let me respond to that. Remember, you guys have been online. I'm home now. I just sit in the car. You guys have been online whole day, and now let me clear that Let me clear that.
Mr. Kabo, hold on. I dey give chance for let it clear. But the problem here is, I know nobody not able to answer the question. My question, hopefully now you get clear connection. The question was, when the SLPP promised say na India for start the Lungi Bridge work. That was the question. All the other explanation are just an extension.
But he did answer it though.
He did?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said no.
He
He answered it. He said no.
He did not know because it could have been fake news. So I think it could have been fake news.
No, before I answer, 2019, October 2019. Now we are.
And then they move it. Then they move it to last year, 2020.
They move it to 2020, and now we are 2021. So go ahead. I respond now. What you have for respond? Then
All right. Let me go back to Mr. Abdul to comparing Tanzania or any other country to Sierra Leone. We all are Africans, but we are on different political stages. The politics that is going to see in Sierra Leone is different from the politics that's going into Tanzania. Now you want to ask where are the opposition? What the Tanzanian president has done to the opposition? And if you go there, that's a separate issue. Unlike Sierra Leone, we are practicing democracy, and we know how the opposition was a stumbling block, in the development of the country through this President Marabio. So what I was saying, I briefly watched the town hall meeting that was initiated yesterday or some days back. I watched that. And the president did categorically mention that Rome was not built in a day. In a situation or in a family where you don't have a stepping stone, you don't have nowhere to start, and they want to do big things. Now, let me get you back to history. As you said, we gained independence in 1961, and shortly we're going to be 60 years. Now, all those 60 years, people have been in governance. They never promised, or in fact, they did promise. They never started anything about the bridge. It is not a child's play. It is a huge project that even if they started it last year, it will take maybe 4 or 5 years to complete, or maybe more. We don't even know. And there's a lot of funding needed for that. And as he mentioned in his own interview on AYV or all other media, he did mention that we don't have the resources, even though we have them to some extent, but they were mismanaged. And there was no credibility in the country to get foreign donors or foreign aids or foreign support. So he had to build that. And by that, he even affirmed that when people are saying he's flying, he said, yes, as far as he knows Sierra Leone, he is going to continue flying until he fly no more. That is to say, until Sierra Leone get better. Because the name of the country is in shambles. So he has to put logistics together. And it's a lot of money to get the confidence of the sponsors, to get the confidence of the people who are providing the aid. It has to be more than what you guys are expecting. So you have to be patient.
So, let me ask Mr. Kagbo, can I ask an hypothetical question? Let's say Madabio finally get the funding of, according to what they tell me. You see, because Mr. Kagbo, while you say the president say it fly until he not fly no more, we get something. Remember, they are saying that we are the people who are going to build this bridge, they are the one controlling it. In Texas, in Houston, where I live, we have more toll roads than any other part of the 50 United States. And it is not us paying for those tolls. It's a German company building this toll for us, and they are collecting money from us. After a while, they hand them over to the state. So if the bridge, Nalunge, the bridge is going to be built by a company from Europe, and they are going to control it and until they recover their money, why struggling to get that company? A. B, the hypothetical question I ask you, let's say they don't start the bridge until the 5th year of the Parabio presidency, just 6 months, and they do the election, he lost. APC win, and APC say, to hell with you, German company, we don't want to hell bridge now. And then the company say, well, we've already signed a contract. And then the new APC president say, well, I'm going back to China, and the company will be higher China. China say, in fact, we can build the new airport in Mama in less than 2 years. The bridge will take 7 years. You not think, say, development of Canada country there. Any president will come, he want to do your flagship for putting your mark. I am from Potloko where that bridge is. So until the president give us a reason why you want to maintain the airport in Alunge, I don't see the feasibility of it. I'm talking about dollar now. You and I know.
Let me answer your question. Let me answer your question. There are two questions you asked. But one is that you made mention that. Yeah, Mr. Makoto, the question is for me though.
No, I know, but una too much for filibuster the conversation. We get other people them that go one for coming. Una give them chance. Go ahead.
So, I think SLPP has botched the whole bridge thing. I'm a huge proponent for the bridge. I think having that bridge, it's so much more to it than the airport.
Yeah, you don't go off back.
Yeah, the airport. Am I there now?
Yeah, they hear you now.
Yeah, the airport to me is it's kind of like a sideshow to the bridge. If you look at Freetown, right? You look at that peninsula area. You see how much since they don't develop that road there. You see how much that Western rural don't expand because of the roads, right? You've seen the city don't expand. I honestly believe if you get a bridge between Freetown and Lunge, right, you will see this expansion of where Freetown become part of Freetown become part of Potloko. Okay,
yeah.
If people can cross that bridge within 5-6 minutes, right, easily, it's easier for me. If I go build na Thunder Hill, I cross the water, go put me house there because it's likely shorter for me for cross on that bridge. Okay, so to me, there's an expansion of the city. How you expand the city with that bridge. There's also you look at the when you look at road infrastructure, how they really affects country. Now when you go Salon now, this again, kudos to APC, right? You go Salon, you see how easy it is for travel between Freetown to like Kenema. And remember where you would have been picking there, where they travel, that'll be a whole day trip. Now that if I left Freetown 6 o'clock, I eat lunch na Kenema. And they will come back and do dinner na Freetown. Okay, that's how much when you develop roads and stuff like that get for do, because we have not, as a government, we have not done enough. We still get the same old boats that would cross people that would so ferry and they were so unreliable. So if the cost is effective, if it's something that can be done, I always believe it's something that needed to be done. It's just going to improve the country, right, down the road. So I'm not really worried too much about that. My mama, I'm going to the other caller in neck. Governments do walk away from other contracts that previous governments does. It happened in America. I mean, look at this gas pipe, the gas pipeline thing that Obama says no to. Trump can say yes. Biden don't come and say no to it. That happens sometimes. That doesn't necessarily stifle, development. Yes, if it's in the middle of construction. My mama was not in the middle of construction. My mama was just on paper at that point. So you can walk away from it. If my mama be done the bill halfway, that's a different conversation. But my mama was just on paper. So walking away from my mama, some of us felt like, another airport there, it's literally you shut it down. Lunge will die. The whole Lunge side will die if you move that airport. We have to look at those things. Why sometimes when the UNIFO left certain industry in a certain place, because that industry is what keeps Lunge going. If you move that airport from Lunge, that whole area is dead. Economically, any other prospects we get, it don't die. Which make me to ever cross for go the other side. See the next thing for do, then ferry then they're not even make them the runs off. That Broko ferry, they will literally stop. They always will go across, will be pam. So you're killing that whole side. To me, because of those things is why I support the bridge for me, right? But SLPP to me starts to fail when the way they started the conversation. First, then get this big press conference. If you remember the launch, Michael had and say, we get to do this in the open. People that can bid, when I will see the bid, without winner, without the best bid, nah. Government not going to pay nothing, right? That was the last time we talk about to do that. You know the name of the company that win the bid?
No.
Again, because they never kept their promise about being transparent about it. So since then, everything that's been going on, it's been kuku jumuku. What's making you come out first of all and say this will be built by zero money from the government before you engage the people there. After they engage there, you realize say government get for yes, they put money, but there's going to be a sovereign guarantee. Sovereign guarantee, it's almost like you put your money. Because if it fails, the people whether the financer, they come at the government. They will come at the government assets abroad and other places. Right? So you make this big promise before you engage the people there, the investors there. Now it feels like you get stuck in a corner because the reality of it is that government get to put some kind of a guarantee.
Yeah.
And you never come back to the people there. They should have engaged this process, engage the people there, see what are the options are there and communicate to people based on that. But they come out and made this huge promise of zero money. We're gonna build it in this year. We're gonna start here. Where you not even get investors there yet. So me, that's why I felt like they just botched the whole communication. And it goes to both parties. I say this, both parties get this problem. Too many of the surrogates them like for run them out way too fast. They always like for take small good news, then scatter like say now the best thing ever happened. Like I said, if petrol price dropped today, they will make like say SLPP now don't do some miracle. Even though not likely the rest of the world now the price don't drop. APCB they do the same thing.
All right. Now let me give Mr. Gabo 2 minutes, Mr. Abdul 2 minutes, and we'll close. So Mr. Gabo, first, you want to say something before I stop you. Go ahead.
Well, right. I'll go back to Mr. Abdul. I think I still remember the first question. He said when it is zero amount of dollar as a deposit and the government don't have to pay, the people come and run the bridge, they build it, they run it, and they pay themselves. Yes, that was initially what was said, and I think it still stands. Now, but one thing you got to understand, there is a disappointment in one way or the other, either from the companies that won the contract or whoever the company that was consolidated, that was consulted and agreed to the terms might have, there is a twist somewhere. And this twist, I will tell you something. To do business with Sierra Leone, you have to win the confidence of the international body. In the sense that Sierra Leone is prone to know that they're not reliable in paying debts and they consume money, more so through the past government, so much so that even the international community had to walk away. So when the international community walks away from a country, it's just like when you have your credit card here in America or somewhere you live in abroad. The consumers, the credit card company has to have the confidence of you. What do? They profile you to see how much you shop, which credit card you get, and they look at how you pay, and they guarantee you, they give you a credit card. And then you can survive by that. The same thing, they will look at other international organizations that have done business with Sierra Leone. Even though they have agreed, maybe they are the people who are causing the problem or the government causing the problem. The government has to clear that. We don't know where the problem lies right now. Maybe the guarantors have a problem which they never investigated before. And so, Madabio, while she's trying to build the confidence of the investors from in our country, it takes time to do so. There are a lot of debts that he has to meet, a lot of commitment that he has to meet, and because of this, you might find out that that's where the standstill is. This is just my opinion.
I can tell you where it's at. I can tell you where it's at, though. I can tell you. I know for sure where it's at.
Right. quickly, Bashir, before we go to Mr. Abu, get the last word.
Very quickly, the problem outside there, it's called volume, right? I'll come back to this. Maybe Marcus, I will remember this. You ask for people for pay the investors for spend $2 billion, and all the feasibility studies there, what they don't do. There's less motorcar where they travel between Freetown to Yanda.
Yeah.
Right? You talk to 20 years. When you even make an assumption and double the toll, right? It still does not make the investment worthwhile, because for making pull out $2 billion day and the amount of the feasibility study of how much motorcar they expect for travel, right? That person they will get money back literally 45, 50 years from now, right? There's not a volume, and that's why if you remember, they came up with this scheme that they would charge. Let's say car with put up, they charge every individual person inside there for toll. Not so they put up, they charge for toll. Remember that they will charge the individual passenger, not the, which tells you there's nowhere in the world where you go through toll where they pay for each passenger. You pay for the motor car, right? That tells you exactly why they were thinking that way, because the volume was not there. That Massacre highway get more volume, and even that, when they compare with that amount of money, it doesn't make sense for 20 years investment. And people don't put the money for 20 years for $2 billion without making profit. You know, every time they put them profit, we just say, oh, they put $2 billion 20 years. Well, they put this money out for better. Now, after 20 years, I know what they get. They are projecting to make money. This is where the problem is. I make I say they messed up from the beginning. They should have engaged first before they launch this big thing. And start forget deadlines and all that stuff. Engage first. That's why I felt like from the beginning they messed it up by giving too much information as if this was a done deal, when the reality is they've never started engaging yet.
All right, Mr. Abdul, you got 2 minutes.
Mr. Mankota, I want to salute my brother, Mr. Bashiru. He gave very correct analysis on the basis of this bridge. Wait till they tell you so. These are the sources also where they come out from inner SLPP people, where we now go talk privately, not publicly. So, Mr. Bashiru, we are 110%. Kudos to you, sir. Thank you so much. That is exactly the problem why the bridge not start yet, because the company then they take and say na risk for go put $22 billion when they go get them. The thing I want to talk no more for Mr. Kagbo and others, maybe I want help for put and to mute this notion, and the president back talk Madabio back talk on where go on the interview that IMF, World Bank, the international community, they run away from the country. This is not something new. Mr. Kagbo, if you recall, Mr. Bashiru, during the rain down years of the Tijankaba, where before Aneskoroma camp, IMF, World Bank, they were not doing business with that country anymore. It preceded to even Momo's time, NPRC, then SEFCAM, they say, oh, they have to reach out to the World Bank and IMF. So it's not something new. The reason why I want to make that clear, because now for the listeners, they will not sabi them, right? Or even if they do, they're thinking the level of political analysis is very low. When somebody reach, oh, they say IMF, World Bank, or the international community, they run away from the country. They don't want to do business with them. Manabio know he's been disingenuous, because having been in governance during the NPRC, the same thing was said during the Momo years, that the UN, IMF, World Bank, we are not coming in. Then get forecast starting with late Mankota in Fambul, Mr. Jim Fona, who was their Minister of Finance, and then Pakaba back in time. So, law make and fine, but law not make and like I say, SAPC was so egregious, so bad in mismanaging money. IMF and World Bank just say, hey, when I kiss me behind. No. And I guarantee you, towards the winding down years of Madabio, we'll be here the same thing, APC surrogate and say, oh, in fact, say IMF, World Bank, they are refusing to lend money to this government. So now that's not my one talk. It happen with any government where they go and come. Not to APC, don't suffer that.
so
But Kaba
can
went
we-
through the same thing.
Can we get a guarantee from you that when that happened to SLPP, you said no, it's not that, and Vuvuzela as if this never happened, right?
Okay,
You will be
yes.
truthful about
Yes,
that.
I will be very truthful.
Because
Yes,
that's
sir.
what-
Yes,
this
I
is
will.
what- This is the problem with them two parties they are. Everyone make like say this has never happened before.
Correct.
And when small,
You are right, Bashiru.
they make like this small
Exactly.
business, it has not ever happened before.
Yes,
You know.
that is true. You are right. I agree.
So let's be honest. Let's have, because for country for change, let's have a solid debate. Like for me, rice production, which is key and close to my heart. There's government policies, so you don't involve anything, just simple policy where they change. Nigeria have done it. Nigeria changed policy where it totally changed rice production in Nigeria. Okay? Government give 5 years. Say within 5 years, it is stop every wrestle government they buy, which is the biggest buyer of rice in Asalo. That local source they buy from. If the local source able, after they don't deplete all the local source before they buy the imported rice. What happen? All the rice vendors, they order the import rice, they all start for switch to farming. Because they know say for government they buy from me, na guarantee money. Okay? The government has the biggest buyer of rice. If we want change, we need to start for switch into we prioritize for buy the local brand. If you do that, if they give more money to the farmers, then farmers will expand. The biggest importer of rice in Asalo not get one acre of rice farm in Asalo. But are the biggest importer of rice. Why is that? Why is he not? He's been a billionaire off of the back of Salon people there. Wait to make then they invest in rice production at Salon. Why is the government not demanding that from them? Policies, change simple policies. You see some of these things shift. Also, of course, you need the machines, you need the know-how and not stuff like that. But all that stuff without policy shifts, Abu, it's not going to work. You have to, at some point, shift the policy where we, as government, the biggest buyer of rice in Asalo, from now on, inside in 2026, all the rest will they buy for feed police, food German feed this, German now local source, and the first to the buyer.
Yep, yeah, I agree.
If you do that, I promise you, okay, inside 10 years, there'll be a huge shift in government, in rice production, because the farmer now, the local farmer, is guaranteed that we see don't, you know about the old SLPMB business. We see you don't get your rights to the SLPMB depot, you get your money. That's all you be need now. But now the local farmer get for Fenway, half for buy the rest, half for do this, half for do that. It doesn't have the money, so you can't even compete with the imported one.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, guys. It's 5 o'clock on your time and almost 2 o'clock now. So we don't come to the end of this program. I just want to thank you very much. This is a very good debate, and we will continue for debates for make we able to find solution. Like what Bashir bring this last word and collab. That's very important thing. I hope say the government they listen to this and try for implement that. It's very, very important. And I think say not a hard thing at all. You know, it's not hard. Just make start from the government. Get this policy. Say any rice oil they make, would they buy them from the local? That they change a lot of stuff. Very, very important. And they bring a lot of people them because 60% of the people them are subsistence farmers them. You know,
my brother, now that make Dangote go for rice. That sugar if they do first. Where government change policy, then Dangote go into rice.
yeah.
Okay, because na guarantee buy, na guarantee money.
Yeah. All right. So we'll go see you back next week, the same time, the same place. Good night.